Yeah, and then the teachers don't care. Who do the teachers pay attention to? Not the smart kids, not the average kids.
Just the hot kids. Oh, my bad. Thought I was right.
So we've been sitting here, we've been talking to Lieutenant Aram Choe for quite a while now. For maybe just a couple minutes, you got into a little bit about your marriage, and I think we need to tap more into that.
Yeah.
Give us more marriage advice. Like, tell us something that you guys went through. What was your rough patch?
You guys got stay together for what, 21 years you said?
21 years? How?
And you got married after 6 months.
Yeah.
Well, I proposed to her after 6 months.
How do you propose real quick?
It was horrible. She was watching a TV show on TLC called Trading Spaces.
Love that show.
So her birthday is February 11th, and it was Valentine's weekend. I had the ring. We went to a nice balcony restaurant in Pasadena. I was going to do it, but it felt so artificial and cheesy. I didn't do it. The next day, she comes over. We're getting ready to go to a hike. I just got off of work. I'm showering. I come out. She's sitting on the couch, and I see that she's watching TV. I go back to my closet. I pull the ring out, and I go, "You want to get married?" And I pull open the ring.
Wow.
And she said, "I thought you were going to ask me on my birthday." That's how she said yes.
And she said yes?
Well, at least you proposed.
And we didn't go on that hike. We actually went to her family's house, where only her mom and sister were at. I mentioned earlier her dad got sent to prison. He owned an insurance company and did insurance fraud and got wrapped up in that. So that was our first rough patch, right? When I was considering proposing to her, it's a scary thing. It's a big decision for any guy to do. And as I was saving up money for that ring, her family's house fell apart because Dad got arrested, right? And Dad was the only breadwinner. There's 7 kids and a wife that's always been a stay-at-home wife, and their life turned upside down. And I'm like, man, am I marrying? Is this girl wanting to marry me because I'm rescuing her from her situation?
Oh.
And so I did. I was a kid. I was in my young 20s, and I'm like, I'm gonna test this theory. I'm gonna break up with her. Dumb move, right?
Alpha move. Honestly, alpha. That's alpha move.
Because if she was really into it, she was going to do one of two things. Either divulge that she never loved me and that she was doing it. Oh, I didn't love you anyway.
Hit you back?
Yeah.
She's like, oh, you started watching Cobra Tate, damn it.
Or she was going to fight for me. And what she ended up doing, I did it, and like after a date, it was a dick move. It was after a date on her porch, and I said, I don't think it's working out. And she ran crying. She said, I loved you. Oh. Broke my heart right on the spot. I ran to her.
Did you say, I was just testing?
It was like a Korean drama, right? The music came, I ran after her. I held her, and I said, man, I'm really in a confusion. I was in a confusion. I said, I don't know if you love me or if you're using me as a vehicle to escape what's going on. And she said, are you stupid? I love you.
That's some insecure shit that you had to work through.
I was an insecure guy. I really was.
You said young 20s?
Yeah.
I get it.
Making a big move in my life, right?
I get it.
So, how old were you when you proposed? Like mid-20s?
No, I think I was 24 or 25.
Oh, yeah. That's young.
Yeah.
Wait, so how did you get through the explanation that you were just testing her, like in that moment?
That was one of the first indications that doing stupid shit, if they love you, it'll work itself out. Because she didn't ask for an explanation.
Well, you told her the truth.
Yeah,
right?
she didn't ask for an explanation.
That's big boy shit, though. You had to actually be a big boy real quick.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's cool.
You were this big, and then you had to be this big.
Yeah, pretty much. And so that was first rocky patch. Mm-hmm. And then having kids is life-changing, man. Right? Right after we had our third kid, living in a 900 square foot house.
Holy
the economy
shit.
went to shit,
It's
right?
fucking packed.
Yeah, the economy went to crap, and my wife balancing 3 kids. I was demoted from my job because the economy was bad, and I had to lose my spot that came with a bonus position. It was a 5.5% raise, car allowance, and I lost all that. And simultaneously, I got into a really bad mortgage. I had an adjustable rate mortgage because I didn't know.
Was this 2008?
Yeah. And so my mortgage went from $900 to like $1,800. It doubled, and I wasn't making that much money.
Lord.
And
What were you doing at the time?
What do you mean?
Were you an officer still?
I was an
officer.
I was a detective, and I got demoted.
Oh.
Because the city had to make budget cuts too. Everybody was hurting.
Yeah.
And so luckily I got a job at Dodger Stadium, because if you're a cop, you can work off duty as a cop. And it was a pretty cool gig, actually. Got paid pretty good money to just walk around with a headset and tell the security guards what to do.
It's like being a mercenary.
Yeah, but sometimes I worked harder there because Dodger fans, the Dodger fans were
Crazy.
and I come home smelling like beer and mustard stains and stuff like that because they don't know you're a real cop. They just think you're security and they disrespect you. But I had to do that in the course of a season. When you're in season, it's like a full-time job. And so I'd come home exhausted, never had a day off, but I did that to pay my mortgage. And the reason why I was doing that was because I was stupid. Because my neighbors and friends weren't paying their mortgages, pocketing all that money, and the banks were working with them.
Yeah.
And I wanted to work with the banks. I'm like, just give me a fixed rate, refi me. You can't, you're underwater. Your house is devalued, right? So I had no choice but to short sale. And it was a big decision with my wife. Oh, no. Because we're like, man, we worked so hard for this house, and now we're going to lose it after 8 years. And not only that, we're going to be ineligible to buy because your credit takes a hit for 7 years. Oh. But this is where having a good wife and God intervenes. So we rent a house in Eastville, a beautiful house that we thought we were going to rent to buy. On year 4, we're like, this doesn't feel right. It's not our home. It's somebody else's home. As much as we've decorated to try to make it a home, it's not our home. And then other external factors like the population boomed in that city. And I don't know what it was, but right after the economy went bad and we moved into that rental house, I had an opportunity to work a specialized unit on an overtime basis. And then the economy started getting better, and the people in the city were like, well, we need this enforcement more and more. And I worked a ton of overtime. So much, but I was working so much that we couldn't spend it. So we were just pocketing all that money. Next thing you know, my savings blew up enough to put an FHA level down payment down. But I'm like, my credit's still shot. No one's going to sell somebody a house that has a short sale, right? It might as well be a bankruptcy. And my wife, to my wife's credit, trusted me that we would dig ourselves out. So I'm talking to a friend about this who happened to work at a mortgage company, and they're like, hey, I was just curious, what do you think about trying to buy a house now? I said, I can't. I did a short sale. Oh, yeah, you're right. But I said, you know what? I haven't run my credit in a while. Let's just see where it's at so to see how much more work I need to do. Runs the credit, and the short sale's not on there.
Wow. Like enough time passed or something?
No. So that company went under, like a lot of board companies did. So when that company went under, they couldn't report. You have to report to maintain those records, and they couldn't. So it fell off somewhere.
That's so sick.
Wow. That was God intervening right
It's
there.
like when a cop doesn't show up at the court date.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
like,
Yes. And
Is
so,
that what happened when you got demoted from detective? All the cases you were working on just went...
No, other people together. I was junior, so there was other detectives, but I was junior. And so we bought this house, and what ended up it was supposed to be, it was a fixer-upper big time, and then another tragedy, but bigger blessings came beyond that, and we built our dream house, our forever house there. But man, knowing that my wife, from her perspective, knowing that I would do whatever it takes, including taking a security job, because that's like a demeaning thing for a police officer. It's like being in the major leagues and saying, hey, I'm going to play in the minors also.
Because your coworkers are just regular dudes sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And which is, same thing with my current coworkers, but you never want to go backwards in a career, right? And security is considered, when you're a full-time police officer, that's the pinnacle of your profession, and you don't want to go below. It's like demoting yourself. But I wasn't too proud. I did that because the job was there, and it was good money, and it was enough to pay the bills. Yeah. And I was proud of that. Even though I lost the house, I did the honest thing. I paid faithfully, even if it was double. And I could have cheated. I could have done what everybody else did and didn't pay and got rewarded for it. Those guys not only got away with it, they restructured their mortgages, but they gave them $35,000 on top of that to move out.
By the way, hella people would stereotype you and say an Asian guy would know his credit score. You didn't even check your shit.
Financially, I'm a broken Asian person.
You're defective.
But I learned a lot. Like today, I'm very, I own real estate, and I'm in a good position now. But it wasn't because I had a good mentor or anything. It's because I learned a lot of lessons along the way, and I never want to go back in that again. And my wife, same thing. She had the security knowing I would do whatever it takes. And I had the security knowing that I had a woman that would stick by me no matter what. And that's a lot of confidence in a relationship. And the big obvious
that's the unbeatable pair right there.
Yeah.
If the dude's down to do anything and she's down to stick by him no matter what, it's unbeatable.
On top of that, like the word divorce is never an option. Because we've had some hellacious fights where I've left the house, I was sleeping in the car or whatever. Early on, but divorce was never an option for us, no matter how mad at each other we got.
My wife threatens assassination before divorce.
That's a good one.
That's acceptable.
She goes, "We're not getting divorced. I'm just gonna kill you." And I'm like,
That's an honorable. That's
Can you get that filed legally?
she threatened me. Can I? Should you go to jail?
Can you get a restraining order on her?
That'd be so funny if I put a restraining order on her and I never exercise it.
But this may be more like a different subject, but kind of relates. I think that it's harder to find that these days.
Oh yeah.
Because the level of expectation, thanks to social media, has given people skewed views of what people are, right?
Some people aren't riders, dude. That's the problem. I got a fucking rider. All these boys are riders. That's the difference. You pick good people and you keep them as close as you can.
That's why when people say this, like, "Oh, people aren't loyal," I'm like, who do you surround yourself with?
Yeah.
Because even in my past relationships, I had the faith that all of the women that I've dated would have gone through the trenches. Like, some of them would have probably complained my ear off, but they still would have gone through the trenches with me.
I mean, you also have too many people giving advice from so many different directions. Like you got Mia Khalifa telling all women to get divorces all the time. Like that's.
But
and
who's
people
looking at her
listening
like she's credible?
exactly.
Right? Who's
but,
doing that?
She sat in that chair, brother.
Are, you know?
But also people
If you want to take a good whiff of it, you can.
but I do think people sometimes
I need to sanitize myself now.
they're loyal to, and they pick the wrong person. So like, let's say there is someone who's genuine and loyal, and then they're giving
Misplaced
that,
loyalty.
but it's like a one-way relationship because they don't know who to do that for. They're not filtering people out correctly.
Yeah, and you know, maybe an insecurity thing, but like sometimes women think, you know, like, what do you have to offer in a relationship? Well, nothing, because he's the breadwinner. He takes care of me. I just have to look pretty for him. Well, no, you do have to offer stability, loyalty. You know, those are things of value, and I think they discount that as a value item.
I do laugh though when people are like, it's like, oh, you know, women want to, you know, women need to take care of the house and give you peace, and I'm like, this bitch will never give me peace. But everything else, yeah, sure. But the peace part,
Dude,
bitches scream.
they talk.
Bitches scream and yell.
One thing I left out to give her big props to is she homeschooled our kids from the very beginning.
That's sick.
All four.
Insane.
That's legit.
That's big props for sure.
Because I understand some people watching might be like, "What? The kids were in school. What did she do all day?" You know, yeah, I get that, but she worked her ass off. She homeschooling these kids.
Super difficult.
We have a buddy. So sometimes there's not everyone rides, right? We have a buddy, and he thinks that homeschooling means just teaching your kids how to dance.
That's it. That's all we do, actually.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
No, you know what it is.
Who's gonna tell him?
How come you guys made that choice to homeschool?
So I had the opportunity to work as a part-time school resource officer, and I learned fast. It doesn't matter if they're from a good district or a bad district. Kids are assholes, right?
Yeah, kids themselves.
Yeah, and then the teachers don't care. Who do the teachers pay attention to? Not the smart kids, not the average kids.
Just the hot kids. Oh my bad. Thought I was right.
My experience in public school was awesome. I had a great public school experience, but the eye opener was when I was kind of against it. My wife was for it, and we went to a convention where parents that were exploring doing it went, and the table I sat at was 2 cops, a firefighter, and 2 teachers. And the people that had the biggest impact on me were the teachers. I could care less what the other first responders did. I'm like, why? You're a public school teacher. Why are you not putting? Because public school system was broken, and this was back then, more so than it is now. So I wanted, and the other thing was I wanted to control what their foundations were, and they don't teach about God in school. And if you wanted them to teach about God in school, you had to shell out thousands of dollars and take them to private school. Yeah.
Like Christian school. Yeah.
Like 30 G's.
Yeah, and even then, those schools had their own set of problems, right? I mean, drugs happen, peer pressure happens. I wanted them to be able to do a couple things to have common sense. So, you know, if I clean the guns, they were there, 4 or 5 year old learning how to clean guns, right? But these are all practical things. You talk to how many kids today can't even change a tire, or don't even know what how to change a light bulb, for instance. So I wanted to teach them basic skills, and I learned all 4 of my kids are different. My oldest child, my daughter, she struggles with math. But mind you, I teach them all the same. My middle 2 boys, they're math geniuses. All the same curriculum, and my youngest is just a genius at everything. And they're all taught the same from the same curriculum. Aptitude, everybody has a different aptitude level. So So if they were in school, they wouldn't have been nurtured in those. They would have been like, my daughter, she struggles. She does good in English and everything else, so we're gonna pass her along. She sucked at math. I'm like, no, let's drill math. And you don't get that one-on-one, unfortunately, unless
Yeah.
you
So you just keep falling behind.
control.
Yeah.
Until you're in direct control. So we catered. We adjusted their curriculum. So I would hold them back, and my wife would hold them back in one grade and move them up in another. So. So I liked that ability, and then they all had a foundation of God. Everything was, the curriculum we used was Christian-based, so everything was surrounded Christ. So we got, and then you know what? Kids not only are in school for 8 hours, when they come home, they have 3 hours of homework. Our entire homeschooling day was less than 5 hours at some point, you know. And then they got old enough, it was on cruise control. They went on the computer and did schooling themselves. So.
Do you worry about like the social part of things?
I did, and what I really learned was the kids' social cues reflect the parents. So when the 70s and 80s, when a lot of people were homeschooling, the people that were doing it were nerdy, right, antisocial, and the kids, as a result, it's, oh, he's a nerd because he's homeschooled. No, he's a nerd because his parents were nerds.
That's true, because that's how we all saw those kids, but it was because their parents were nerds, yeah.
But if you look at kids now,
That's funny.
My kids are super social, but they have a smidgen of the social exposure that kids do, right? I think they're more mature. A lot of parents tell me that your kids are more mature because they're used to having conversations with their parents. We're always around each other. And
What's the nexus for them making friends?
what do you mean?
Like, where do they connect?
Oh, I think personality. Like, I remember being at a birthday party once, and this dad I'd never met before comes in and goes, "Hey, your son's pretty popular at school, huh?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's actually homeschooled." He's like, "Oh, that kid's a natural leader." So I think just my son doesn't fear anything. When he was 1.5 years old, I hear I'm taking care of 2 of the kids inside the house, and I hear, "Dad." I can't find him anywhere in the house, and I get to the backyard, and he's hanging from the eave of the neighbor's garage. So I had a ladder leaning on the fence, and he climbed the ladder, and it leaned just to the edge of the garage, and that's him. He was adventurous. He was the one that he jumped off the top of the bunk and injured himself, and I looked like a bad dad at the ER. You know, that was him. So I think it's just personality.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. They pretty much all make friends easily.
Awesome.